What's good? Welcome back. I'm Liv. And this is Girls Gone Spooky. Who remembers reading Daughters of the Moon?
We do.
We do. Amy and I were just like reminiscing about just so many good like YA fantasy witchy girl 90s early 2000s witchy girl books, and that the House of Night series, the Blue Blood series, obviously Twilight, and oh my god, there were just so many. So we may reread them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready to reread Daughters of the Moon as soon as we saw that cover art.
Yeah,
it was like,
I know. Yeah. I have it like imprinted on my brain. Like I remember being in like 5th grade and like looking at that cover wistfully as if I was going to like wake up with magic powers. Like I was just like, I'm a witch, right?
Yeah. Or look as cool as that girl with like her tube top and glitter all over her face.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like wasn't allowed to wear makeup at that point.
No, we were too young.
Too young, but oh my god. Yeah, can't wait to be someone's witchy aunt.
Mm-hmm. Same. That's all I aspire to be.
Everything I aspire to be. Yep. Well, slight little gear shift. We're talking about aliens, y'all. And I'm so excited because we haven't had an alien episode in a while.
I know. It has been a while.
It's been a while.
Good ones.
Yeah, same. And also, I feel like maybe we've covered mine, to be totally honest, but they didn't sound familiar to me. So I was like, put them in. And if they're repeats, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. But I feel like we had to start with the recent Obama little confusion. Did you see this?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so he gets on a podcast with Brian Tyler Cohen and they say something about like, oh, and like, you know, like I think he said something along the lines of like, what's something that surprised you to learn when you became president, or he was prompted by something like that. And you know, he was like, you know, like, are there aliens, or like aliens are real or whatever? And he was like, he literally said, and I quote, "They're real, but I haven't seen them." And so the internet was like, are we just gonna act like Obama didn't just confirm aliens are real? Like, what? And then he goes on in the podcast to say, they're not being kept in Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy and they hid it from the president of the United States. But like since then, he's like been bombarded with people being like, you said this, like, are you confirming? Like, you know, whatever. So he went back and said that his comments were made in line with the spirit of the speed round of questions, adding that statistically, the chances are that life is out there, but he saw no evidence of it while president. And so, you know, I like, he was like, let me clarify, whatever. And then he's like, I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us. And then he says, really? He's like, please listen. So, you know, it was just like a funny thing, but it's like, also, if it's top secret, he's not gonna confirm or deny that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
say something to undo.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a little constrained. So we'll keep that in mind. Okay, so I have 2 stories today. One's a little bit quicker, but they're a couple of actually like the most, or not the most famous, but 2 of like the best documented UFO sightings in US history. So the first one is the Socorro landing. Does this ring a bell to you at all?
That does not.
Because it doesn't to me either. Oh, it does. Okay. Did you cover that in a past episode?
I think I did, but it feels like that was years ago.
Yeah, it might have been one of our first ones. So sorry y'all for a repeat, but I had to bring it back.
I think I've done it twice now.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
It's fine.
Sorry. Sometimes the stories are just so good, and like finding a different source for it too. It's like different information. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Socorro landing, and this one's kind of quick. And this is actually from Socorro is a city in New Mexico. So this is actually from like the Socorro's, like one of their like city websites. They have this on the actual website, which kind of makes sense. New Mexico is sort of known for its extraterrestrial events. So they kind of own it at this point. But from, a legitimate source. So the article says one of the best documented UFO sightings in U.S. history was witnessed by City of Socorro police officer Lonnie Zamora and investigated by many top scientists. Below is a short summary of the events that occurred that day. In late afternoon on Friday, April 24th, 1964, Socorro Police Sergeant Lonnie Zamora departed his cruiser on a rough and rocky dirt road to investigate an unidentified flying object, or UFO, which came to rest in an arroyo south of Socorro. The desolate, undeveloped area was primarily made up of mesquite and creosote bushes. I don't know what creosote is, or if I'm saying that right, but taking a stab. Creosote. What Sergeant Zamora witnessed at approximately 5:45 p.m. was a, quote, egg-shaped craft traveling into Socorro from the south. It was later reported and documented as having been witnessed in flight by 5 different tourists traveling through Socorro around that same time. Zamora, in an interview following the incident, stated that he witnessed a bluish flame and a loud roar coming from the direction of the arroyo. He approached the area where he believed the craft had landed, and Zamora later stated that he had first seen the object from about 150 yards away and believed it to be a car or some sort of vehicle in need of assistance. So he probably thought like the blue flame was, I don't know, something to do with the engine, maybe something going wrong, or maybe just dismissed that as like, that doesn't make sense. I must have seen it wrong when he thought it was a car. He then radioed the sheriff's office about a possible accident that he would be investigating. He then contacted New Mexico State Police Sergeant Samuel Chavez, someone who Zamora trusted to assist in the investigation. After requesting the assistance of NMSP Sergeant Chavez, Zamora once again began approaching the object. At about 50 feet from the object, he noted seeing landing gear and a red insignia, which he later drew for the authorities. Zamora then noted bright blue flames and another loud roar until ultimately the object began lifting away from its resting place. Yeah. Following the incident, many local residents visited the site and witnessed not only burned bushes, but also landing gear depressions in the ground. This incident has been recorded in many newspapers and magazine articles, as well as written about in many books. April 24th, 1964 has proven to be one of the most well-documented days in New Mexico, or Socorro, New Mexico's history. Over the past 53 years, various ideas and thoughts have been shared regarding what he may have witnessed that day, but the one thing that remains true regardless of theories is that the object witnessed by Officer Zamora and others has not yet been identified. How weird is that?
Landing gear? That's pretty...
And then it just lifted away. Like, what?
Yeah.
So it's just like they had nothing to actually investigate other than the space where it was. Yeah. And that would be a pretty, it's like the theories are like, oh, it's just a hoax. Like he set the whole thing up. But it's like, why? And also the lengths it would take to do that are just, it would be crazy. It would be crazy.
Right.
And other people witnessed it.
Yeah.
So it's like this flying egg, essentially. And I don't know.
Yeah. I think that mass hallucinations don't happen very often. So if multiple people see something, I think they probably saw that.
They probably saw it. Yeah, I agree. So
interesting.
That is the first. The second, which is a bit lengthier, is around the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill. So I'm just going to read this verbatim. This is actually from Boston Public Library. And it all centers around an article that ran in the Boston Traveler. So this is a similar time frame, 1965. So I'm going to read it with all of the drama that they included here. So the headline says, "A UFO chiller, did they seize couple," they in all caps, by John H. Luttrell. And then it says first of a series. And it opens by saying, "A night of terror, of confrontation and abduction by occupants of a spaceship from another planet has been related by a New Hampshire couple under clinical hypnosis." So, yeah. So the article continues, "When you think of aliens, the image of a gray, human-like creature with smooth metallic skin, an oversized forehead, and a pointy chin may come to mind. Alien enthusiasts refer to this creature as a gray. Grays tend to dominate science fiction media. Think of Roger Smith from American Dad or the colonists in the X-Files. What many people don't know is that we can actually trace this depiction of aliens back to a New England couple and a late-night drive through New Hampshire in the 1960s. 60 years ago, an article titled "A UFO Chiller, Did They Seize the Couple?" appeared on the front page of the Boston Traveler on October 25th, 1965. Over the next 5 days, reporter John H. Luttrell recounted the unbelievable story of Betty and Barney Hill, an interracial couple from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, who believed they were abducted by aliens on the night of September 19th, 1961. The story of the Hills is remembered as one of the first recorded instances of alien abduction and includes everything from forced medical examinations to unexplained amnesia, which I have to say reminds me so much of that SNL skit.
Yes. I have one that's, I was also thinking that whole time.
Funny. Kate McKinnon has forever changed alien abduction for me with that skit with Ryan Gosling. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen it, Google it.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you believe in aliens or not, you've likely seen some version of the Hills story, which has inspired authors, filmmakers, journalists in the decades since Luttrell's article was first published. So, Betty and Barney Hill. The Hills were a respectable, middle-class couple who lived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Barney worked for several years at the South Boston Postal Annex before transferring to Portsmouth and was an active member of the New Hampshire NAACP. Betty was a social worker for the New Hampshire Health and Welfare Department and active in the Unitarian Church. Their friends, colleagues, and neighbors all described them as good, wholesome people. The one thing seemingly remarkable about the pair was that they were an interracial couple at the height of the civil rights movement. That is, until 1961, when the Hills were returning home from a road trip through Canada. On September 19th, the couple, along with their dachshund Delcy, encountered a strange aircraft on U.S. Route 3 near Franconia. What they saw that night left the couple shaken and confused. Months after the trip, Betty and Barney struggled with unexplained anxiety, nightmares, and health issues. Strangest of all, neither could recall what occurred in the moments after they spotted the aircraft. 2 hours of their trip seemed like a blank page in their memory. This led the Hills to consult with Air Force officials, scientists, and eventually a psychiatrist who specialized in hypnosis therapy, all to uncover what really happened during those lost hours. The following story is taken from Luttrell's articles in the Boston Traveler, which were published without the consent of the Hills. Additional information was found in an excerpt of The Interrupted Journey by John G. Fuller, published by Look magazine in October 1966. Fuller's article was written in collaboration with the Hills, who wanted their version of the story shared with the public after the Boston Traveler made them famous. Okay, so here's the long journey home. Around 10 p.m., just south of Lancaster, Betty noticed a mysterious light outside her window as they drove down the highway. The light was too bright to be a star, and it appeared to move through the sky. She pointed this out to Barney, who brushed it off as a satellite that had probably veered off course. Unconvinced by this explanation, Betty made him stop the car to let Delcy, their dachshund, out for a bathroom break. Outside the car, the Hills took turns observing the strange light through Barney's bird-watching binoculars. They watched as it soared across the sky in unpredictable patterns. Barney, still convinced that it was nothing out of the ordinary, hurried Betty along. They returned to the car and resumed their journey, but Betty kept an eye out the window. She alerted Barney any time the aircraft changed direction. It appeared to fly closer and follow them down Route 3. As they approached Cannon Mountain a little before midnight, Barney parked a car in a picnic area. Curious, he peered through his binoculars and took another look at the strange light. He watched as it swung from a northern position in the sky over to the west and then changed course again to head straight for them. He described the aircraft as an enormous disc with two fin-like wings on either side, each with a flashing red light. Around the perimeter of the ship were windows lit from within with a bright white light. And here's a quote from the Charles article. There was movement aboard, and soon I could see the occupants. They were human in form and not at all grotesque. They seemed to be wearing dark, shiny jackets, and the person I distinguished as the leader wore a military-style peaked hat. Barney stared at the flying disc as it moved closer. He felt like a tiny bug waiting to be snatched. He yelled for Betty to get back in the car. They sped off, trying to put distance between themselves and the ship. Suddenly, strange vibrations began to shake the car, and an electronic beeping sound filled their ears. Delcy started to whine at Betty's feet. According to the Hills, a tingling sensation started to spread throughout their bodies, and they fell into a sort of daze. At some point, they became aware of the beeping sound again. It was as if they had awoken from a bad dream, except they were still in the car, driving down the highway. A sign on the road indicated they were now in the vicinity of Ashland, 35 miles south of Cannon Mountain. Neither could remember how they had gotten there. It was dawn. It's so strange. It was dawn by the time the Hills pulled into their driveway. The clock in the kitchen read shortly after 5 a.m., which they found strange. They should have made it home by 3 a.m. at the very latest. And that was not the only unexplainable thing they noticed. Neither of their watches worked, and the strap on Barney's binoculars was cut in half. They felt a strange urge to check the windows, expecting to see the spaceship in the sky, but nothing was there. So, this moves to the search for the truth. The Hills agreed to keep the details of their encounter a secret, but by day 2, Betty decided to notify officials about what they'd seen. She phoned Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth and gave the officer a brief description of the aircraft. She did not mention the human-like figures they saw on board or the beeping sound in the car. Both Barney and Betty were concerned about sounding crazy, but the call was actually quite reassuring. The officer informed them of others who made similar reports in the past. He seemed interested in their description of the aircraft and interviewed them a few more times over the course of several days. What the Hills did not know at that time was that half a dozen people reported seeing something in the sky on September 19th, and Air Force radars picked up a shimmering, quote-unquote, shimmering disturbance at the same time that they saw the spaceship. So, sort of like corroborated by the Air Force and other witnesses, which is super weird. Satisfied that the Air Force was looking into their case, the couple tried to move on with their lives. 10 days later, Betty started to have vivid nightmares about that night. She dreamt of the ship and the figures they saw in the windows. In her dreams, the figures were intelligent, human-like creatures that took her and Barney aboard the spaceship for medical experiments. The nightmares only lasted for 5 days, but left Betty with severe anxiety. By the summer of 1962, Barney's health was in serious decline. He was diagnosed with high blood pressure and ulcers. His doctor recommended talking to a specialist about his anxiety, so he began seeing Dr. Duncan Stevens regularly for therapy. At first, Barney was reluctant to discuss anything related to the incident at Cannon Mountain. He did not think it was connected to his increase in anxiety or his health issues. After a while, he finally opened up about the spaceship he'd seen and the unexplained amnesia he and Betty were experiencing. Dr. Stevens confirmed it was rare, very rare, for two people to suffer from the same hallucinations and amnesia. He urged Barney to meet with a renowned psychiatrist in Boston who specialized in using hypnosis to help patients overcome traumatic events. So on December 14th, 1963, Barney and Betty Hill arrived at Dr. Benjamin Simon's office in Back Bay. At Barney's request, Dr. Simon met with the couple together and quickly realized both needed help. According to Dr. Simon's own account, he had no strong feelings about UFOs or outer space in general, but he was convinced something did happen to the Hills, and it was causing them great anxiety. Over the course of several sessions, Dr. Simon worked with the Hills separately to recover their lost memories using hypnotherapy. At the end of each session, he would make them forget what had been discussed so they could not impact each other's memories. He recorded the sessions to play back to the Hills and make them remember when he thought that they were ready. Under hypnosis, Betty and Barney were able to recall what happened after they heard the mysterious beeping sound. Their stories were eerily similar, and both became distressed when forced to relive the events of September 19th. Barney remembered seeing the figures through the ship's windows and running back to the car with Betty, but now new memories came back to him. He could clearly remember faces staring back at him. These figures had odd-shaped heads that were large around the forehead, but with pointy chins. They had long slanted eyes that wrapped around the sides of their head. Their eyes seemed to communicate telepathically, telling him not to be afraid. The memory caused Barney to yell out in Dr. Simon's office. "Oh, those eyes! They're in my brain! Please, can't I wake up?" As they drove away from the ship in fear, he recalled coming to a traffic stop and seeing a group of about 6 quote-unquote men standing in the shadows. This is a quote. "I saw a group of men standing in the highway, and it was brightly lit up as if it were almost daylight. It was not the kind of light of day, but it was brightly lit, and they began coming toward me. And I do not think after that of my tire wrench. And I became afraid if I did think of this as a weapon that I would be harmed. And if I did not, I would not be harmed. And they came and assisted me out of the car. I felt very weak, but I wasn't afraid. And I can't even think of being confused. I am not bewildered. I can't even think of questioning what is happening. My feet are dragging, and I'm not afraid. I feel like I am dreaming." So Barney is dragged onto the aircraft with his eyes glued shut. He only opened them once when he was placed on a table in what appeared to be a hospital room. He tried to remain as still as possible as objects poked and prodded him. He thought if he was quiet and didn't resist, no harm would come to him. Once the examination was done, the men guided him back to the car, which was still running, and he remembered feeling giddy and smiled when he saw Betty approach the vehicle. Together they watched entranced as the ship became a ball of light and flew away. Barney began to drive away as the beeping sound returned. He could feel the calmness slip away. He was anxious to get home and examine his body for some proof of what happened, but by the time he pulled into the driveway, all he could remember was seeing the object flying over in the sky over Cannon Mountain. So then there's Betty's side. So Betty recounted a very similar story. She recalled feeling the same calmness wash over her as the men approached the car, but unlike her husband, she kept her eyes open. One of the men, who Betty identified as the leader, spoke to her with a strange accent. He told her not to be afraid. They would not be harmed. The men brought her aboard the space... Bring us aboard! Come aboard! The men brought her aboard the spacecraft and placed her in a medical room alone. She asked to see Barney, but the leader told her only one person could be examined at a time. According to Betty, another man entered the room dressed as a doctor. He pushed up the sleeves of her dress and began examining Betty's arms. He scraped an object shaped like a letter opener across her forearms and collected the flaky skin particles on a plastic tray. As he moved to inspect her ears and mouth, Betty did not resist. She told Dr. Simon that she felt no fear during the exam until the doctor approached her with a strange needle. This is a quote. "Then they roll me over on my back, and the examiner had a long needle in his hand, and I asked him what he's going to do with it. And he said he just wants to put it in my navel. It's just a simple test." That's my personal nightmare. I hate that. I do not like having my belly button touched. And I tell him, "No, it will hurt. Don't do it. Don't do it." And I'm crying and I'm telling him, "It's hurting. It's hurting. Take it out. Take it out." And the leader comes over and he puts his hand, rubs his hand in front of my eyes. And he says, "It will all be all right. I won't feel it." And the pain goes away. But I'm sore from where they put that needle. So after the doctor finished with his examination, Betty was left alone with the leader. She asked where he was from and what they wanted with her, and in response, the leader showed her a map of outer space, but Betty was unable to recognize any of the planets depicted. He also showed her a book with strange symbols on the cover, and when she flipped through the pages, it was written in a language she'd never seen before. Unsatisfied, she asked to keep the book as proof. The leader initially agreed to let her keep it before deciding against it. He told Betty it would be best to forget everything she saw that night. Another quote, "I won't forget about it. You can take the book, but you can never, never make me forget. I'll remember it if it is the last thing I do." And he laughs and says, "Maybe you will remember, but I hope you won't. And it won't do you any good if you do, because Barney won't. It would be better if you forgot anyway." So really similar stories. Like, I think like the leader was sort of saying like, you'll think you're crazy if you remember and no one else remembers.
Yeah.
So really similar stories, really weird, like really, really weird experience. Yeah, so not even really sure what exactly to make of that, but the aftermath and some possible theories. So Dr. Simon was unsure what to make of their recovered memories. He was positive that the couple suffered from a traumatic event, but didn't really buy into their story of alien abduction. Betty and Barney weren't really sure what to believe either. And when Dr. Simon played the recorded sessions back for them, both could remember the abduction clearly. In fact, they were able to recall even more details about the spaceship and alien creatures. Dr. Simon theorized that the nightmares Betty suffered from may have influenced the couple's memories, that she had had nightmares, told Barney about them, and then that's what influenced the memory of whatever the trauma actually was, assuming it wasn't aliens. One of the biggest critiques of hypnosis therapy is, of course, the high risk of false memories. Under hypnosis, patients are often very open to suggestion and imagination, and it can be hard to tell whether a recalled incident is a memory of a real event or a fantasy. Despite Dr. Simon explaining this to the Hills, they were relieved to finally have answers, even if it seemed improbable. Over the next year, Barney and Betty only told family and friends about the abduction. They never planned to share their story with the world. However, when the Boston Traveler released its article, the Hills were thrust onto the national stage. The American public was already caught up in the space craze of the 1960s and quickly latched onto the idea of malevolent aliens abducting humans for experimentation. Several theories about Betty and Barney started to gain traction. Believers combed over the details of their case for proof that the abduction really happened. For example, amateur astronomer Marjorie Fish conducted a 3D model of Betty's map. So Betty actually could draw the map that the aliens showed her. To try and determine its legitimacy. She ultimately concluded that Betty was shown a map of Zeta Reticuli, a star system 39 light years away from Earth. It's even if, how did she draw that map? She would have to have, researched that, and I don't know, that just seems so unlikely to me. Right. And these people were by everyone in their community's accounts normies. They were not weirdos. They were not trying to get national attention. In fact, they didn't want this to be shared. It was only once someone else took the story and ran with it that they said, okay, well, fine, we'll tell our side of the story. So numerous skeptics, of course, also came forward with theories of their own. Some believed the Hills were sleep deprived from driving all night, which is fair, and mistook the planet Jupiter for a UFO. That feels like a stretch, but okay. Others wondered, of course, if the whole story was made up for fame. Historian Matthew Bowman argued that the pressure of being in an interracial couple during the 1960s put a considerable amount of stress on their mental health. And he actually wrote a book called The Abduction of Betty and Barney Hill, Alien Encounters, Civil Rights, and the New Age in America, where he explores the couple's struggle with racism and how this pushed them toward fringe groups for acceptance. So the idea is they didn't necessarily want fame, but they wanted exposure to sort of a new group of people who would accept them for their story versus looking at their skin color. But I don't know. I feel like they saw two different mental health specialists and neither of them got the sense that oh, they're lying. Even their GP was they've clearly endured trauma, a trauma. So what? I don't know. I don't think that those theories are, I don't buy it. I think it was aliens. I think it was fucking aliens, man. So anyway, it is Louis being naughty?
No, he's just waking up.
Oh, he's waking up, little guy.
Being taken out of his
out of his box. So yeah, well, sorry to take us through a revisit, but it's just so compelling in the alien culture. What was it? UFO culture? UFO culture.
Yeah.
So I had to share it.
Yeah. I also wonder, while you were talking about that, did that happen in that area of New England that's like the Bermuda Triangle of New England? Because I kind of
what is Bennington Triangle?
Yeah. I thought we maybe talked about it in that context rather than like
is wordsmith and Bennington Triangle. It's not.
Okay.
That's specific to Vermont.
Okay. I made it up.
But I do think we talked about weird, like maybe an abduction or lost time or something along those lines. So that makes sense.
Familiar.
Yeah.
That one
is so interesting.
Very. I love it. I love it.
Aliens.
Okay.
Okay, your turn.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I have a few things. So
excellent.
One is a hypothesis or like a concept for us to discuss. Let's get philosophical.
Let's get philosophical.
It's called the dark forest hypothesis, which is now kind of a like proposed solution to the Fermi, I don't know, paradox.
Okay. Which don't know what that is.
Yeah. I've heard his name. It's Enrico Fermi or Fermi. Okay. And he asked the question, if the universe is so vast and old and intelligent life should be common, where is everybody? So basically asking, why don't we have evidence, or why haven't we encountered advanced or other advanced civilizations? And so the dark forest hypothesis says it's because everyone is hiding from each other, which is kind of a creepy thought. And
I hate that they call it dark forest because
I know it's such a spooky image.
Yeah. That's interesting. So say what the Fermi theory is.
It was just a question. So he didn't really present anything. He was just like, if the universe is so vast and so old and intelligent life should be common, where is everyone?
Why have we not run into them? I mean, okay, so I had this debate with my uncle one time, who's a science teacher and is a very logical human. And I think he makes really good points of like, from his perspective, what he shared, and shout out Scott, correct me if I'm misremembering this, but what he said was like, if there is life out there that is intelligent enough to travel, I mean, they'd have to travel from pretty far. Like it would be like a space travel outside of our solar system. Yes. Then he was essentially, I think what he was essentially saying is like, they'd be here for one of three reasons. One, they'd be here to take our planet, because probably their planet has become inhabitable, because we can't be the only species to just like destroy our home. Yeah. Two, to essentially like colonize us, like not necessarily like kill us all, but like use us for something. Yep. Or three, like probably if they needed like help. And I think my counter to that is like, but that's assuming they operate like humans. Like none of those are really coming in peace. Like maybe the third one, but like I don't know. I guess it's assuming that their technology is similar to ours, which obviously it's not, because we don't travel that far into space, not yet, at least. And if they have the technology to travel, this was my first argument to him, was if they have the ability to travel here, which is something we can't do to get to them, wherever that is, we don't even know where they would be. Then of course they could have the technology to like hide themselves. And his point was like, yeah, but what's the point? Like, why come all this way and then not make contact in like a meaningful way? But then that leads to my other argument, is it's like, maybe it's just like scientific interest, or you know, I mean, or maybe they do have a plan to make contact with us, but maybe they live a lot longer than us, so they're just observing, or maybe they see that we're a warring people, and so they are like, ooh, maybe not, like we'll check in again in a few years, you know. I mean, what I think is like the Dark Forest theory is interesting, because it's like, well, two things. One is it's like, it's assuming, which I think is interesting and unusual, that we're not the most advanced species. Because it's saying their tech has to be better than ours. Like, it's making that assumption when, like, I don't think that's safe to assume.
Yeah, I think it kind of does. But they're also saying that the loudest, basically they're saying whoever's being the loudest doesn't exist anymore. Or like whoever was the loudest.
I see.
Because they kind of view any advanced civilization as like a hunter in their Dark Forest theory. And
okay, so it's more like Scott's theory.
Yeah. So like anyone who has shouted out into our collective universe and tried to make contact, maybe we haven't heard about them because they disappeared. Because they were overpowered by somebody else, or they realized, nope, we should be in hiding. I mean, it's just a crazy theory, but I see what you're saying.
And I guess I just think, I don't know. I mean, it's human nature to be kind of paranoid and like territorial and like all of those things, but like it's two parts. One, I don't think it's safe to assume that their tech is the same as ours, as advanced or less advanced or more advanced than ours. Like, how can we make that assumption? And two, how can we make the assumption that they're humanoid, and not just in look but in behavior? Like, even Dark Forest, that idea of like a hunter, that's who knows? Like, this other species may live off of the air that they breathe. They may not need to eat, you know, plants and vegetables and animals, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I just think that's it. I don't necessarily buy it. I sort of think that like some of these alien encounters are just so compelling, and it makes me think like, also, how confident are we in like everything we know about the history of the Earth? Like, who's to say that alien life forms weren't here before humans in our planet's history, or our solar system's history? Because like Venus, don't they think Venus at one point was just like Earth?
I think so.
What if there, you know, was life there at one point and they left, or you know, whatever. Like, I don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, I know. We definitely don't know. But, and yeah, it is such a human concept to think of them as hunters. But I feel like any being, life is kind of hunt or be hunted. And maybe that would be the same in any advanced civilization. Because you just end up having power or no power. And I don't really even know.
Yeah, it's like sociology.
But I think any advanced civilization would have the desire to protect themselves, is maybe what I'm trying to say. So then you become a hunter if you feel threatened, and a hunted, I guess, in hiding if you also if you feel threatened. Either way,
you go
responding.
into either. That's fair. I think that's a fair enough take. I think part of it too is like we're informed by pop culture and media on every stage of the spectrum. So like there's like signs aliens that are like really coming for us. There's like Alien versus Predator universe like really coming to get us. And then there's like Project Hail Mary. Like that's coming out as a movie, but it was a book first, and it's like this turtle like alien. Like it's kind of like a turtle. And it's peaceful. And I do think it has a sense of self-preservation, but I even think of like Stranger in a Strange Land. Like that book is so fascinating because it's like, first of all, it's like OG sci-fi literature, and the way that like the Martian is just so different from people, like from humans on Earth. So I don't know. But then there's also, it's like similar, like when you think about like what happens after you die, it's like we're constrained by what we've been exposed to and what our brains are capable of comprehending. So, you know, there's also, and you may be getting into this, like, there's also this idea that like angels in the Bible, for example, are like really scary looking. Like they're so horrifying, honestly, like to look upon, that it would like kill a person to see them. And so like all these eyes and like really freaky looking. And so you sort of like wonder, is it possible that like early humanity maybe was exposed to aliens and they were like, this is God?
Yeah. Ancient aliens.
Ancient aliens. I love it.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that today, but that's
so I mean, that is so compelling to me. Like when you see descriptions of like from like Jesus's time and before, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's probably aliens, y'all.
I know. It just I love to think about that. It's so fascinating.
So fascinating.
Yeah. So just to close out the dark forest, because we have been broadcasting radio signals into space.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Is have we also not been like sending shit out there?
We have been. So like the question, if we believe in the big or dark forest, is, are we alone? Are we like early to the party? Are we being actively ignored? Or have we been noticed and we just won't know until it's too late?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's a really freaky that's a really freaky thought.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Oh, aliens.
But, yeah, and this hypothesis was actually from a science fiction novel, but then like philosophers and scientists even started speculating,
grabbed onto it.
And
yeah,
it's like this kind of has some merit.
Yeah, I wonder what radio frequencies were playing out there, because I feel like that might matter.
Yeah,
because also hasn't like music been sent out too? There was that song. There's a famous song that's like very eerie that was like played in space. I know.
Why would they choose a weird song?
Right.
To play? Should choose something nice.
She's like, wish you were here, like Pink Floyd. Like, give him something.
Yeah.
Everybody likes that song.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you don't like other Pink Floyd. That's a great song.
Right. Or get Katy Perry back on the mic.
Oh, for God's sake.
Her Blue Origin or whatever that was.
Oh my God. If it's her, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
She's like, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? And aliens are like, burn it. Burn the planet. We don't even want the resources. Burn it.
Not worth keeping around.
No.
Yeah. So
Jesus
funny.
Christ.
Oh, man.
Hey.
Okay. Next, I have two encounter stories, kind of.
Okay.
Actually, no. One encounter. One.
Actually, no.
One kind of continuation of last week. So let me start with that one. Wow, this is very long. Okay, here we go. So this kind of also sounded familiar, so this might be a repeat, but Dorothy Martin is someone who felt like she was being communicated with by extraterrestrial beings. And so she lived in Oak Park, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. This happened in 1954, that she told a small group of her neighbors that she was receiving messages from extraterrestrial beings that she called the Guardians, who were entities from a distant planet called Clarion. And the messages she was getting weren't like coming into her mind, or she wasn't hearing them, but she was being like compelled to write them down. Like somebody was guiding her hand, basically, is what it felt like. And according to the messages, the Earth was on the brink of catastrophe, and it was going to be a massive flood that would take us all out. But the promise of salvation was that they could be transported out by a flying saucer.
Louis like, beat me up.
Yeah. It's like, I'm ready to leave.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah. He's like, these people don't let me do anything. I can't bark at them. I can't bite them.
Yeah, I can't eat your socks. Yeah. What the fuck?
He's something else. So we'll put him on the flying saucer.
Yeah.
And he can come back when he's better behaved.
There you go.
Anyway, so they could be spared if they get on this flying saucer.
Okay.
And so this grows from her small little neighborhood group to a bigger group called the Seekers, which is now known as a UFO religion, which I was like, that's a crazy concept.
That's a step beyond UFO culture.
Yes, that's a step. Yes, exactly. And it feels culty to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds kind of like Heaven's Gate, to be totally honest.
That I think Heaven's Gate would be considered a UFO religion, and possibly so would Love Has Won, which I also talked about last time, because she had her guardians even, is what she called them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but I'm so sorry about Louis. He's in his
no, it's fine. It's okay.
But anyway, so they grew, and they call themselves the Seekers. This group is encompassed, or like there's doctors, professors, like,
oh my god,
reputable people start joining. And
what the hell?
Yeah, it becomes more culty because they start moving in together, and people start like quitting their jobs because Dorothy tells them this is going to happen on December 21st, 1954.
Oh.
So people are like, oh, yep, I'm I'm ready to go. I'm quitting my job. I'm just living my life until the end.
Jesus.
But then on that night, Dorothy says they should gather, sing Christmas carols, and await the saucer. And so they all hang out in her living room. The clock hits midnight, and nothing happened. So
could have seen that coming.
Yeah, they're obviously, like, some are crying, some people are just stunned, but then Dorothy happens to get a message at that time saying that the Earth has been spared, and the Guardians had chosen to postpone the rescue because they were safe now. For now.
For now.
And the reasons for the change are known only to the Guardians. They can't share with others.
Of course.
So, yeah, this starts testing the limits of their belief in Dorothy and in UFO culture, I guess, if you could call it that. But surprisingly, a lot of people stick around, and they just kind of revised what they were saying, rather than like saying, oh, never mind, it didn't happen, none of it was true. And actually, interestingly, that this whole situation is what made psychologists and researchers coin the term cognitive dissonance. Because,
really?
Yeah, it was like they were holding on even more tightly to it after it failed to happen. And so
interesting.
They were studied, and that's where it came from.
Well, and that's so common across like not necessarily cults, but like conspiracy theorists, like the Y2K and like the Mayan calendar and all of that. It's like, yeah, they just kept holding on to, it's like, oh, well, we just misread it. It's still happening. It's just the date's wrong. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you can keep saying that, but yeah.
Yeah. And also like that civilization like went extinct. So
I know.
They didn't predict everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless they were abducted by aliens.
Which is possible.
It is possible. Yeah.
They went with the Guardians.
Yep, exactly. So that's Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy, you wackadoo.
Yeah, she lived a long life, though. She passed away in 1992 after having spent a lot of time in Peru, where she explored their teachings, and then she ended up in the Southwest, which makes sense, because that's alien territory in the U.S.
This alien country.
Yeah, she just was hanging out. But she called herself Sister Thedra. So...
Sister Thedra.
Yeah. She's embracing something. I don't know what exactly.
If she were alive today, she'd be playing Katy Perry Into Space.
Yes, for sure.
She'd be one of those. Yeah. Yes. She'd be giving us all a bad name.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, that's a failed encounter. And then
she tried.
Yeah. My last one is very interesting. And maybe we talked about Chris Bledsoe. Does that sound familiar?
Kind of, but without context, I don't know.
Okay. Let's find out. So,
let's find out.
This is happening in January 2007. Chris he was successful, and now he's struggling with his business in construction in North Carolina because we are approaching the recession. So he's taken a hit financially, and he feels like he's crumbling basically at this time because there's financial strain, stress with his family. He's also getting sicker. He has Crohn's disease.
Ugh,
and so
terrible.
He's just he says he felt abandoned by success, by certainty in his situation, and even by God, because he was a faithful man. So he feels like, why is this all happening at once? So, on January 8th, Chris went fishing with his son Ryan and some friends near the Cape Fear River. It was in late afternoon. They were just fishing, and then they saw something in the sky. It was a glowing orb that was bright but not blinding, and totally quiet even though it was pretty close. So at first they were like, this must be just an aircraft, but why isn't it making a sound? And also, why isn't the light blinking? If it's an airplane, it's not moving like a helicopter. What is it? And then it starts moving toward them. And according to all of them, not just Chris, it descended into the trees. Some of them start to panic, so they leave. But Chris says he feels really drawn toward it. And so he actually gets separated from the others as he walks further into the forest. And interestingly, he does disappear. He does not recall that he has disappeared for 4 hours. He thought it was like 15 minutes, but he was gone for hours, so they were all searching for him. But what he does remember is walking toward the light. He felt calm, very like sedated almost. And he did become aware again in the presence of some beings. They were small, luminous, and humanoid. They also communicated with him telepathically, kind of like you said in the Dorothy, or what was her name?
Betty and
Barney. Yeah. So yeah, similar to that. And then he described feeling overwhelming peace. He never felt fearful, threatened, nothing but comforted. And he claims that they examined him and then he was healed of his Crohn's disease. So,
whoa.
He claims that his symptoms completely vanished and never came back, which I don't think Crohn's is curable. Is it?
No, it's not. It was like, I was tested for that at one point when I was having all those health issues, and it was like, I was like praying that wouldn't be positive, because it's not a good vibe.
Yeah. So
what?
Apparently he was healed. That's according to his own account, obviously.
Yeah.
But who knows his body better than him, obviously.
Yeah, so. And it's all like, I think with that disease, it's all like symptomatic. Like, I think, I'm sure they could test you for having it, but I think a lot of it comes down to like how you feel.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
interesting.
Very. And
similar, to be honest, to Betty and Barney.
Yeah, I know. It is weird. Very similar. And so, also weird, though, is that the sightings of these orbs don't stop. Like, this is not a one-time situation. He and also members of his family see these orbs around their house a lot. They look the same, like, not blindingly bright, but they're pretty brilliant white spheres. Sometimes they're orange. Sometimes they do move in ways that do not mimic an aircraft that we have or technology that we have now. And so he starts posting the footage. And then at one point he sees an actual figure again after seeing these orbs for quite a while. And he just calls her the lady because she's different from the people he saw, or not people, beings he saw originally. She is tall and radiant and very clearly feminine. He describes her as being divine. And so she allegedly starts communicating messages about humanity, consciousness, and the future to him. And so this is where he starts to, like, I guess, combine his faith with his now found belief in UFOs and aliens.
Yeah.
So he wrote a book. Can't remember what it's called. I should have written it down. Chris Bledsoe book. Yeah, UFO of God. So you can kind of tell what he is thinking now. But it becomes even more compelling because a CIA officer named Jim Semivan, he publicly states that he believes that Bledsoe is being sincere, he's not delusional, this isn't being fabricated, but that he's genuinely experiencing something that we can't explain. And
I wonder why he would come out and say that. I mean,
I don't know. It says he's the founder of something called To the Stars Academy. So maybe he's like in that sphere of things, but I mean,
Space Force.
Yeah, it holds some weight.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that. And also people from NASA have shown interest in coming to observe this phenomena. But they say it's important to clarify interest does not equal confirmation.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that's fair.
That's
so interesting.
Yeah. But to even entertain, like to have NASA entertain coming out to see the orbs that you claim to see is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think too, like there's and I mean, all of it's the World Wide Web, everything is shareable and readable and consumable everywhere. But like there are so many similarities between like that, his experience, and Betty and Barney Hill, and then also like the orb thing, like that podcast High Strange with Payne Lindsay, like talks so much about like people, I think in Arizona, all these different people who saw this same thing, these like this triangle of lights that was like zipping around the sky. Like it's similar. It's like in a way that they just can't explain. And they were near some Air Force Base, and so that's how they knew all these people had called in to be like, what is that? Like, what are you guys testing something? Like, what is going on? There's something weird in the sky. And it's not like, they were like, no, like it legit was not us. Like, we don't know what that was. So weird. And there's video of it, you know what I mean? Like there's like confirmed proof with your own eyes. I mean, everything's at risk now with AI, but like it's just so, I don't know, it's compelling to me. And like the whole UFO of God thing, like at first it's like, okay, that's dumb. But then it's like, well, but what if that's like what we were talking about before? What if that is like what we've built this entire religion around? Like, and who's to say that that makes it any lesser? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's so, that's so interesting.
It is very. Yeah, I mean, that's basically his story, but I did see while I was Googling stuff that his daughter has a TikTok, and she posts stuff about her, like, growing up there in that house.
Oh my God.
I didn't have a chance to watch, and I hope I can watch on my computer because I don't have TikTok, but, yeah. I think her last name is Bledsoe as well, so you could look her up.
Should be easy enough to find. Oh my God, interesting.
I know. Yeah. Emily.
Well, there you have it, kids. Her name is Emily Bledsoe.
And her username is Bledsoe Baby. So
cute.
Yeah. Check it out.
Aliens.
I love it.
Strange. Oh my God.
That was my book.
Oops. Strangers in the cosmos. Aliens.
The Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. Doody, 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 doody. Well, that's all we got for you, y'all. We'll be back again next week with some scary stories just in time for Easter. And that's that on that. Until then, stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.